With the release of the Disney 100 CMF right around the corner, I thought it would be fun to take a look back at what was my favorite minifigure series that LEGO had ever made until this one, which was the first ever Disney CMF. This originally released in 2016 and was such a monumental for me and my LEGO collecting journey. It perfectly encapsulated everything I ever wanted out of LEGO, and that was more minifigures out of it, specifically as well Disney princesses, and it had my favorite princess of all, Ariel, included. I was so excited. I honestly thought it was fake the first time I saw it, and I hunted that thing down and got my hands on them as fast as I could. It also was the first for quite a lot of things. It was the first minifigure series to branch out and have figures that weren't yellow for the first time, as well as having an increased figure count of 18 instead of the typical 16 at the time. These days as well, these minifigures did spike up quite a bit in value and were so incredibly popular and one of the best-selling minifigure series of all time that eventually they did get a second series, which I don't think sold quite as good just because it wasn't as strong and is definitely a lot cheaper on the aftermarket, and I'm really excited to see how this third series goes. Kicking things off strong, we have Stitch, who, like a lot of characters in this series, doesn't have an accessory. This version of Stitch is very standard and just contains a slight smiling expression on a new custom molded head. Next up, returning from the 2010 line of Toy Story sets, is the Alien. He's been updated this time to have more accurate printed feet as well as a new torso, though it is interesting to note that he has an inaccurate belt print despite being so good otherwise. Like the Alien, Buzz is back too and was the first time he had ever sported a proper minifigure head. At first, I hated this and it took me years to really learn to love it and accept the fact that this is the best Buzz minifigure they've ever done. Their head print color looks amazing and he has printed arms and a lot of great leg printing. Aladdin made his way into this series too, giving us our only minifigure Disney prince to this day. He comes with a lamp, which while fitting is really disappointing when I feel like we could have had Abu instead, which is one of many examples to how LEGO was incredibly conservative with the budget in this series and honestly skimped out in a lot of areas. He has no double-sided head, but honestly I don't think he needs it. To go along with him is also the genie, who again has a lamp, which just makes me wonder why we didn't get Abu and makes that fact even more annoying. He reuses the existing genie legs, which match up perfectly with the lamp and look amazing, and also has printed detailing pretty much everywhere you would need it. Maleficent appears on her own in this series and she looks absolutely stunning. Her detailing is incredibly simple but so effective and incredibly accurate too. I love her headpiece and the double-sided capes. They just add so much to her look, and looking back it makes me kind of annoyed that her dress is different since we now have that new piece, but that's something that I just plan on fixing eventually myself and trying to make my own custom one, because otherwise I think she's perfect. Next up is one of Disney's most iconic characters, Alice. She comes complete with a cookie and a printed bottle with the classic little phrase "drink me" on it. She has some black printing for her shoes, a brand new hairpiece which does fall off quite easily in my experience, and a very beautiful printed skirt piece, which that mold as well is new for the series. To go along with her, we have the Cheshire Cat, who has an amazing head mold, and his print as well looks incredible, and I love the fact that his tail piece blends in really nicely into the stripy color scheme of the minifigure. I just think he's fantastic. Daisy kicks off the core characters with her iconic cartoon outfit, and overall it does feel very plain in comparison to a lot of other minifigures in this series, but that being said, it is accurate to what she looks like. Her head has a very small hole on it, which allows her to have this pink bow on the top, and she comes complete with a small ducktail. Donald is very similar with the same legs, tail, and head mold, just with a different print on it, and I really love the mold that they gave him for his hat, and overall is just such a cute minifigure, though he did end up releasing as part of the Disney Castle too, which kind of annoys me because I feel like they could have included an accessory for him here since he is duplicated somewhere else. Up next is Minnie Mouse, and I get that they saved the red dress for the Disney Castle sets, but I really feel like that it should have been replicated here. The pink looks great and works well, but I don't think it's anywhere near as recognizable outside of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show. The main man, Mickey Mouse, is by far though the highlight of this series, and out of all of the minifigures, I feel like he must have been the cheapest to produce, given the limited detail and reused head mold from Minnie Mouse, and yet didn't have an accessory. I really feel like Pluto would have been perfect included here, but I mean, I think Mickey turned out perfectly no matter what. Going back to Pixar, we have Mr. Incredible, who has a printed 2x2 tile of his Glory Days poster, which I think is super cool, and his outfit is perfectly simple and cartoony, and this one as well I think has better proportions than the updated one that came out later in the Incredible 2 set. That being said, I do wish he had like a custom molded bulky torso. Syndrome was one that I always overlooked as a kid, and I only bought him 2 years ago. I wish I got him sooner though, because that orange hair piece and arm printing on him looked so good. There are some minor printing issues with the white on his legs, but otherwise I feel like LEGO nailed everything. He even comes with a printed 2x2 tile of the Omnidroid, which is our our only reference to this robot in LEGO form. Peter Pan has to be one of the figures I was most excited for with this series. His dual molded legs, his printing, his arm printing, the hair and hat piece, the overly exaggerated face. He is just one of the best CMFs that they have ever made. He came complete with 2 golden knives and unfortunately no pan pipe, but he is amazing and runs laps around the newer 4+ version. Captain Hook again is probably one of the best CMFs that LEGO has ever made. I love his hair, his hat, the printing across his torso and legs. Everything looks great, and the LEGO Hook handpiece gets to shine here too, and overall I think he comes together to make an amazing minifigure for such an iconic Disney villain. Speaking of villains, our third and final one for this series is Ursula. I love the giant tentacle piece they gave her, as well as her new and printed hairpiece. Her head print to me looks perfect, and luckily she came along with the trident too. Just overall, I love everything about her. And lastly is the minifigure who I hold closest to my heart, my favorite Disney princess, Ariel. Funnily enough as well, she's the only Disney princess that they included in this series, which is honestly quite shocking just given how many amazing pics there are overall. I love the use of the classic mermaid tail, complete with the fin printing, but more so, I love how LEGO captured her iconic red hair. The mold is fantastic, but I do wish she came with Flounder or Sebastian that already existed in LEGO form, so much so that I swapped it out and actually ended up losing her shell accessory. Like, I swapped that out when I got her in 2016. That piece is long gone. The only downside I've ever had with this minifigure series is just the lack of accessories. The lack of detail is excusable because it's Disney. You don't really have to go full out in so many areas like you would a lot of other characters, but just not having that many accessories is the only reason that this CMF is no longer my favorite, because Series 3 looks like it has done so much better at that. I cannot wait to get my hands on that series and add it to my collection, but let me know what you guys thought of the original Disney series, and do you plan on picking any up if you missed out on them? If you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel down below, and until next time, I'll see you later.